Hey, hi everyone, Cosette again here with another movement class for you. Today I'm going to keep the focus on the hips and more specifically hip mobility. I'm going to talk about mobility first if you're wondering exactly what it is. Mobility is your active, usable range of motion, okay, that your body can control. And you build this through body awareness, joint strength, and essentially training your nervous system. Okay. Flexibility, which is often used interchangeably with mobility but is actually different, is your passive range of motion. And this is passive because you can only achieve these ranges of motion with the help of an external force. Okay, so you can think of your flexibility as doing a stretch. Maybe you're taking your arm across your chest and you're using your other hand to pull that arm into a deeper, farther range of motion. Okay. Mobility would be how much you could take your arm across without the help of your hand pulling. Okay, so we're really going to focus on using control, cultivating that deeper awareness in the pelvis. Okay, I'm not an anatomy expert, but I do know how much is involved around the pelvis, how much is connected to it, and the hips involve the flexors and extensors, which really move your thighs, your legs in front of you and behind you. We have internal and external rotators, and even abductors and adductors, okay, which take the legs out away from center into center. So as we move through today's class, just try to really take your time, tune into the details, okay, so you can better understand how everything can be integrated within the bigger picture. Okay, we're going to start today on the back, so just reclining. Okay, lower onto your back and come into a half shavasana or constructed rest pose with knees bent and feet planted at least hip width apart. Firmly rooting the feet. Okay, maybe you bring your knees together so they hold each other up. Okay, resting hands on the lower belly. Okay, soften elbows, shoulders, just let the ground hold you. Okay, option to keep the eyes open, okay, or close them. Okay, for now, allowing your weight to relax down. Okay, sensing the body anchoring you, especially the head, the upper back, the hips and feet. Okay, notice your breathing, using this also to anchor yourself more into the moment. Just keep the lips sealed and practice breathing through the nose. Okay, your breathing shouldn't be very forced, it doesn't have to be very deep. Okay, just establish a soft, even rhythm. Okay, can a shallower breath expand a little more so you feel the breath in your belly beneath your hands. And just a few more cycles here. Next, taking a full body stretch, feet forward, arms overhead. Just awakening everything. You can gently roll the wrists around and the ankles. Okay, clockwise, counterclockwise. Reach right hand and right foot farther from each other. And left hand and left foot farther from each other. And bending knees towards your chest. Okay, good. Use your hands to pull the thighs close to you. Okay, lengthening the lower back and move intuitively. Okay, rocking side to side. And give the knees a stir. You can move the knees together, maybe separately in different directions. And beginning to explore some range of motion in your hips. Okay, stepping your left foot on the mat again. Interlace fingers over the right shin, just below the knee. So we'll use hands first for leverage to lightly pull the right knee towards you. Left knee could stay bent, okay, or extend your left leg forward. Okay, just know that you could keep your left knee bending if that feels better for your lower back. So still using hands here to pull on the right leg. You are flexing the right hip more deeply. Okay, the front of the hip is closing. Okay, now we'll try to strengthen the front of the hip, okay, keeping this angle closed between your torso and the thigh. Squeeze the hip flexors, squeeze the front of your hip. Okay, think of contracting it. Can you keep your knee where it is? And move your right hand to the front of your right thigh or just above the right knee. Okay. Left hand could stay down, maybe left hand over left hip. You're going to push right palm and right knee into each other. So while you hug your knee towards you using the strength of your flexor, your right hand is pushing against it to resist. Okay, little push, breath should not feel strained. One more cycle. Okay, step your right foot on the mat to release. Take a pause. And relax the front of that right hip. And then bend your left knee. Interlace fingers over left shin, guiding your knee closer to you. Option to keep right knee bent or extend the right leg forward. For now, we're using hands to pull the left knee, using an external force to flex your left hip more deeply. And to work on the strength of your left hip flexor, try to keep your left knee where it is, pulling it towards you. Squeezing the front of the left hip. Place left palm on the front of your left thigh or just above the knee. Right hand could just rest down, perhaps it's on your right hip. Then pushing your left thigh and palm into each other. Little push. Okay. You might feel a tiny bit of shaking. Okay, that's strength building. Okay. Stay conscious of your breath. Still lightly pushing. Palm against thigh, one more breath. Step your left foot on the mat to release. Pausing here. Okay, next planting both feet on the mat. Keep your feet parallel to each other, okay, at least hip width apart. Arms long and down by your sides. For bridge pose, press feet through the mat to raise the pelvis. Here we are extending through the hips, opposite of flexion. Okay, backs of the thighs engaged. Squeeze your glute muscles a little. See if you could raise the pelvis higher. And do your best to keep the knees pointing forward. You can hold an imaginary block between them. In slow motion, lower the spine and pelvis down. Okay, a moment at the bottom. And then one more time, pressing through feet, raise the hips. You're strong in the back body, the legs. Okay, you could even push through upper back slightly. One more breath here. Then hips down with control. Pause when your hips land on the mat. Heel toe your feet wider than the hips. They could be as wide as the mat. Reach arms away from you like a T. Windshield wiper legs. Okay, right to left a few times. Allow the pelvis to swivel. Just feel how there are little rhythms in the body, how things need to move together. Okay, option to turn your head in the opposite direction of the knees. The knees to your chest. Give your legs a squeeze, wrap your arms around your legs. Now with hands behind your thighs, rock forward and back. Okay, a couple times. Okay, we'll meet in tabletop position, okay, on all fours. Okay, shoulders are over the wrists, hips are over the knees, spreading fingers apart. And to get joints prepared for more weight bearing, okay, rock a little forward and back. Okay, a few times, shifting weight, shoulders past the wrists, hips and back past the knees. And come to center. Okay, a little cow and cat. Okay, cow, lifting the tailbone high, lower the belly. For cat, tailbone lengthens down to round your spine. Okay, cow again, you might use your breath. And cat to flex or round the back. Okay, keep moving, your pace, your breath. Okay, can you initiate the poses at the pelvis? Okay, feel how the pelvis dictates where the spine goes. Okay, how well can you articulate through the middle, lower middle, and upper back? One more cycle. Okay, coming to more neutral spine. Keep your hips over your knees for melting heart. Walking hands forward a few steps. And this creates a stretch for the chest and shoulders. Okay, press down your palms actively. Lowering the head, your head might touch the mat. Stay very active. So arms straighter, elbows lifted. Front ribs hug up and in towards the back to avoid resting in the shoulders. Okay, provide stability, okay, to the torso. Okay, breathing to bring more space, more stretch. Begin to raise your head and walk your hands back to tabletop. So when we're putting weight in the hands, you really want to root your base knuckles, the mounds of the fingers, grip your fingertips a little too, so we're not putting too much load on the wrists. Okay, keep a relatively neutral spine, okay, crown of the head forward, navel up and in so we're not hammocking in the belly. Extend your right leg back. You could raise your leg to about hip height, not too high. Bend your right knee. You can point the sole of your right foot to the ceiling. Okay, now keeping everything stationary, really strong and stable, can you draw little circles behind you with your right knee? So we're just isolating the right thigh in the right hip. Okay, the pelvis doesn't move, nothing is super wobbly or wiggling around. Try to make the circle bigger and explore both directions. Keep pushing through hands. One more breath. Return to tabletop. Okay, give yourself a pause. And when you're ready, left leg extends back. You can raise the leg, but just hip height. Okay, avoid dipping in your lower spine. Okay, cinch the waist up, bend your left knee, sole of the foot towards the sky. And you're just going to draw circles behind you with your left knee. You could begin smaller, perhaps the circle widens. Okay, just try not to loosen anywhere else in the body. Okay, engaging where you need to stabilize. Okay, explore both directions. And return to tabletop. Okay, bring your legs together. Tuck the toes under. And then can you sit on your heels? So we're kneeling with hips on heels, toes tucked. If you need to take some pressure off the toes, you can stand up on the knees instead. Give your hands a little shake. Okay, keeping toes tucked, return hands to the mat in front of you. Okay, you could tent fingertips or plant the palms. And we're going to try rocking forward and back here on the toes and get the ankles mobilized more. Okay, lift your knees off the mat and start to rock back so you bring your heels back and down closer to the mat. Then we're going to return the knees forward and down to the mat. Okay, rock back again, heels close to the floor, as close as you can get them, and then knees as close to the floor as you can get them. So continue to rock forward and back. You could keep hands down for support, or for more challenge, do this without hands on the ground. Okay, see if you can find the counterweight. Practice control. It's okay if your knees or heels don't touch the ground. 2 more rocks. Your pace. Perhaps slower motion. Okay, and then next time you bring your heels back and down. Okay, start to raise the hips. Hands on the mat, come into a forward fold. A really easy one, softening your knees. Weight in the front of the feet, keeping leg muscles stronger. Maintain this bend in your knees and do a halfway lift. Chest forward, okay, pass your toes long back, then fold. Again, halfway lift, long through the spine, shoulders away from ears, low belly toned, then fold. Rise up to standing, push through the feet, arms overhead, abs slightly firm, hands to your heart. Okay, resting the arms down. Okay, just walk to the front of your mat. Feet hip width apart, parallel. Mountain pose. Okay, standing here with more intention, make your footprints deeper. Okay, energy and strength rebound up through the body. Can you grow taller? Can you lift yourself more from your lower half? Okay, less work from your upper half, okay, especially the chest and the shoulders. Okay, moving on, reach the arms overhead. Then folding forward, hinge at the hips, bending your knees on the way if necessary. Okay, step your left foot back. Okay, then lower your left knee down, untuck your left toes. Okay, climb hands up to the right thigh when you're ready for a low lunge. Okay, pushing through the feet, using the ground. Okay, can this stretch remain strong? Okay, engaging rather than just sinking. Okay, think of pulling your left knee and right heel towards each other. Okay, feel what that does for the inner thighs. Squeeze your left glute slightly. Tall through the chest, easy shoulders. Okay, now taking hands down, hips back. Okay, for half split, you could align your left hip over left knee, right leg Doesn't have to be straight. Okay? I would actually suggest keeping it bent a little, at least. You could always use blocks, okay, here to raise the ground, framing your right leg with the blocks with the hands. And chest forward. We're going to use our right hip flexor again, the front of the hip, as well as deeper core. Now keeping your torso where it is. Okay? Tighten up through that right thigh, right hip. Can you lift right heel off the ground? Lower the heel gently. Okay, try it again. Okay, it doesn't have to lift very high. Raise your heel off the floor. Lower it down. Okay, if it's very hard to move the leg, just make your blocks higher or just raise your chest. You can always open up the angle between your torso and right leg. Try it one more time, lifting your right heel. Lower down lightly. Okay, return to a low lunge. Hips forward, right knee rebend. You can move blocks. Tuck your left toes under, lifting left knee, step forward. Halfway lift, okay, chest forward past your toes. Fold, and now the right foot steps back. Lower the right knee, untuck right toes. Hands climb up to the left thigh. Make sure the entire left foot is planted. Can you push through it? Okay. Can you also push through your back foot? Get some strength from the floor. Okay. Bring buoyancy up through the pelvis. Squeeze right glutes. Energetically pulling right knee and left heel towards each other. One more breath. Hands down. And hips back, lengthening your left leg. Okay, remember that you could frame your left leg with blocks, hands on blocks. Bend your left knee at least a little bit. You will still get the stretch on the hamstring, the back of the thigh. Chest forward, staying active. Okay, then using stuff on the front of the left thigh and hip, can you lift your left heel off the mat? With control, lower the heel down. Okay, notice what you need to recruit. Again, lifting your heel. Okay, breathing. Heel down gently. If you need, open up the angle between your torso and leg by raising the blocks or making them taller. And one more time, lift your left heel. Lower with control. Lunging forward, low lunge. Move your blocks out of the way. Tuck your right toes under. Right knee lifts, stepping forward. Half lift, long back. High plank next. Plant your hands. Step the feet back, holding this high push-up position just a few moments. Firm your thighs, look ahead of fingertips, arms are straight. For less load, you can do this with knees down. A supported plank is an alternative. Okay, lean your chest forward and slowly lower yourself all the way to your stomach. Untuck the toes. Okay, stacking hands or fists in front of you. Rest your head down. Keep legs close together. Okay, I'm going to lift my head so you can hear me the whole time. Okay, point your toes. Okay, the fronts of your hips will stay on the mat, so just anchor the pelvis, keep it level, stationary, and lift the right leg from the thigh to the toes. Okay, can you make this right leg longer than the left? You're extending the hip, front of the hip is lengthening. Lower your right leg down. Then lifting left leg. Okay, toes reach back, make this leg longer than the right. The back of the thigh is working. Then release. Okay, for more hip extension or moving legs behind you, we're going to bend the right knee. Okay, point or flex the foot. Okay, pretend you're squeezing a tennis ball between your right calf and thigh. So squeeze that tennis ball and lift your right knee. It won't go very high. Don't worry about height. Maintaining a level pelvis. You're isolating the thigh, just lifting the knee. And with control, lower your right knee down. And again, lifting your knee, extending the hip, squeezing the tennis ball, lower the knee down. One more time, we're going to lift the knee, hold it here, keep squeezing your ball, don't let it go. Can you move your right knee a bit to the right, just a few inches away from center? Then hug your knee back into midline. Keep lifting and squeezing. Knee to the right. Then pull back into center. Yes, fire up the glutes. Once more to the right with your knee. Then pull it into midline. Release, right foot back. And pause. Okay, now focusing on the left hammies. Bend your left knee, point or flex the foot, squeezing that imaginary tennis ball between your left calf and thigh. While you squeeze, lift your knee. Okay, pelvis stationary, lower left knee down. And again, lift your knee. Just lifting, is the focus, not height. Knee down. And once more, we're going to lift. Okay, lifting and squeezing, adding on, move your left knee away from center, just a few inches left. Pull it back into midline. Again, knee a little to the left. It's not a very big motion. Hug into center. One more time to the left. And pull it into center. Release your left foot back, pausing here. Okay, bend both legs now and take your feet side to side, windshield wipers. Okay, mindful here. If you need less, just don't take your feet as far to each side. Okay, swivel hips. And feet back, legs are long. Hands outside your ribs, child's pose. Pushing hips back towards your heels. Big toes together, knees at a comfortable width. Knees could also touch. Head down. Okay, 2 more breaths. Placing hands by your knees, lift your head and chest slowly. All right, so let's sit on the mat. You can bring your hips to one side, legs in front of you. And we're gonna come into a 90-90 position here with the legs. Okay, so you're sitting near the middle of your mat. Okay, start with right leg in front of you, and left leg will be to your left. It might be helpful to have a block within reach, just in case you need to raise your hips and sit on the block. Okay, that's always an option. Okay, to create the proper position here, you're making 2 L's with your legs. I like to use hands for feedback. If you feel your right hip bone, you could draw a straight line in front of it, and there's your right knee. From left hip bone, here to the left is your left knee. Okay, and the whole time we do these next sequences, your legs are pretty much in this position. So take time to acclimate. Okay. Lifting through the chest, you could set hands down wherever you feel most supported. And if you have to tilt or lean your torso to the right a little, that's okay. Okay, so from here we're going to work on our left hip specifically. Okay, we're going to first try to lift the left leg, okay, off the ground, okay, from the thigh all the way to the foot. Can you lift your left leg? Lower it down. Okay. Okay, squeezing outer left hip stuff. Again, can you lift your left leg? Okay, right leg doesn't change. Your upper body could lean to the side. Lower your leg down. Okay, and one more time. Try to lift your left leg. Strong. Softly lower the leg down. Okay, enjoy a moment before we add more. Okay. So if at any point you get cramps in your muscles, that is quite normal. Cramps can be seen as somewhat of a defense mechanism. Okay, if a joint or the tissue you're using is not used to a certain action, it could seize up, kind of put on the brakes on that action and cramp. And the more that you train the tissue and get it stronger, more adapted, the less cramps you should be getting. Okay. All right, next we're going to explore internal rotation, still on the left hip. Okay, so left knee will stay on the ground for this one. Okay, left knee glued to the ground. Can you raise your left ankle? Okay, maintaining the 90-degree angle in the leg if you can. Lower your ankle down. And again, raising your ankle. Okay, imagine this kind of spiral up through the leg. The rotation comes up from deep within the left hip. Lower your ankle down. Okay, one more time, lifting your ankle. Imagine your thighs spinning forward and in. Good. Lower your left ankle down. Pausing here. Okay. So keeping your right leg firmly rooted still, we will combine, first we're going to do external rotation too. So we did internal and now external. Still on left hip, right leg stays rooted. Left foot can stay where it is. Can you start to move your left knee up towards the ceiling? Right leg rooted, lower your left knee down. Okay, and again, lifting left knee towards the ceiling. Lower the knee. And one more time, lifting your knee. Lower it down. Another pause. Okay, then we will combine the lifting leg with internal rotation and external. Okay, so just take note of where your left knee is. This is our reference point where we're going to tap our left knee and left heel eventually. Okay, so starting with lifting your left leg. Okay, it's okay if your torso leans to the side. Lifting left leg, can you tap your left knee down to where it was before you lifted the leg? Okay, then for external rotation, start to raise your left knee. Can you tap left heel where your knee was? Okay, then again, tap your knee to that same spot. Then heel. Return to the leg hovering in 90-90 position. Lower left leg down. Okay, soften your hips. Take another breath. Okay, we got the other side to do. To get there, we will slowly turn the chest to the left. Okay. So you can lean back on your hands and point knees up to the ceiling. Okay, your feet are pretty much in the same place still that they were. Can you pull your knees farther apart using outer hips? Then swivel knees to the left. And let's create that 90-90 position. If you feel your left hip bone, you can draw a straight line forward. There's your left knee. From right hip bone to the right is right knee 2 L's, 2 right angles made by the legs. Okay. And keeping the torso as upright as you can. Remember that a slight lean, maybe to the left, is okay. Okay. Can you contract outer hip stuff? Okay. Outer right thigh here, focusing on right hip. Lift right leg off the ground. And keeping the 90-degree angle. Lower the leg down. Okay. And again, lifting your leg. Lower down. Okay, see what you need to recruit to do this. One more time, lifting left leg, or your right leg. Lower the leg down, pausing. Okay. Continuous breath through the nose, send good signals to the nervous system. Internal rotation next, still on the right hip. Right knee is stuck to the floor. Can you lift your right ankle? Imagine your right thigh spinning forward, down, and in. Lower your ankle down. Again, lifting right ankle. And just see how much internal rotation you have. Lower the ankle down. One more time, lifting your ankle. We'll hold this one longer. Try to pull it away from the earth, using deep hip muscles, not using a hand. And then gently release. Okay, try to pause where you are, keeping the shape of the legs. You just soften hips. Okay, external rotation. Right foot can now stay where it is for the most part. Okay, can you raise your right knee towards the ceiling? So you just open your leg, okay, and then lower the knee down with control. And again, lifting right knee to the sky. Keep left leg firmly rooted. Lower right knee down. Okay, one more time, lifting right knee. Then lower. Okay, another moment. Okay, some stillness here. Okay, and then just think about all those elements combining the leg hover with internal and external rotation. Okay. Okay, take note of where your right knee is. This is where we're going to be tapping the right knee and right heel. Okay. We'll start by lifting right leg off the ground. Okay, keep it lifted. Can you tap right knee down to where it was on the floor? That's the internal rotation. Then external rotation, raising right knee, tap right heel in that same spot. Okay, then can you tap your knee down again? Right knee, the ankle is lifted, then tapping right heel, right knee towards the ceiling. And return to the leg hovering where you started. Lower your right leg. You're 90-90 still. Okay, just get softer through the hips. Okay. Alrighty, lots for the hips today. So you're going to turn your chest to the right. One more time, we'll lean back on the hands. Your knees are pointing upwards. Then can you try to pull them farther from each other? Okay. Can you pick up your left leg? Okay, and bring your left foot in front of you, close to midline, and then pick up your right foot. So soles of the feet together. Holding ankles or outer feet. Okay, chest forward, little fold. Okay, rather than pushing the legs down with your arms here to get more of a stretch, recruit outer hips to pull outer knees towards the mat. And sitting up, Hands to outer knees, legs together. And give your legs a squeeze. Okay. And then simply sitting comfortably. You might move into a resting posture like Shavasana, laying down. Perhaps you want to do legs at the wall. But that is it for hip mobility today. I hope that you have a better understanding of how much is really going on around the pelvis, how many different muscles are working, what a big muscle group it is, and how you can use all of it to your advantage. Keep it strong, keep it moving, integrate everything. And if you have any questions, just let me know, leave a comment, and I'll see you next time. Thank you.